Hey, welcome to another episode of Creatives on the Couch. And today we have the amazing Anthony Wilson Dugdale. Hello. Hey.
So nice to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me on.
Are we okay to call you Tony?
Yeah, everybody does, yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony's like your Sunday name.
Anthony's when I'm in trouble.
Give you about 5 minutes and then we'll see where we go with that one.
Yeah, probably.
So you're a musician.
I am a musician.
But first of all, can I say your name is amazing? I've never heard of a name like that before.
Dugdale. Yeah, Dugdale's a very old name. And the earliest use of it I know of is back in 1372. Someone called Agnes.
Oh, I like that.
But I thought it was an unusual name for many years. Then, of course, the internet comes along and you start looking for it. And we're all over this planet. There's so many Dugdales around. I think there's a town in America called Dugdale.
Have you been?
No, I haven't.
Are you going?
Possibly.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's a cafe up in
all right, we'll
Settle.
We'll bring a film crew, won't we?
Yeah,
we'll do that.
Yeah.
Dugdale visits Dugdale.
Dugdale does all sorts of things. Yeah, there's a cafe up in Settle, up in North Yorkshire, which I mean to visit, and I'm going to see if I can get a discount.
Yes.
You might do, actually.
We all need membership cards, and I want a badge.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm definitely related, but there's somewhere back there. It must be, yeah. But yeah, it's all over the place. West Midlands is quite a common thing.
Oh really? I've never heard
it's gone a bit, you know, with the like the TV shows and things like that where people are tracing their family history.
Yeah.
It's kind of gone a bit crazy at the moment, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think with lockdown, you know, Ancestry.com gave everybody free access,
Oh, yeah.
and suddenly people have got rolls of wallpaper with thousands of names on it.
Right back.
Yes.
Yeah, I know there was. I think the most famous Dugdale I know about. I think his name was Sir Richard, and he was the head of the heraldry school back around the time of the War of the Roses.
Wow.
So he was the boss of that, and he would be doing all the crests and shields designs and those sorts of things.
Oh, amazing.
That's the most famous one I know. How closely related I am to that, I don't know.
So good. Like, about your life, where did you grow up, and where's it all started?
I was born actually near Sheffield, a small town called Wath-on-Dearn, which no one knows about.
I do. I'm from Doncaster.
You're from Doncaster, so you're practically down the road.
Yeah, they've got electricity yet though.
Yeah, I don't know. I left when I was 5 and moved to the east coast of Bridlington, which is where I grew up. I stayed there until I was 19, and then I moved south, where I stayed for 40 years, and it was only, 2018 we moved up to near Stafford in the West Midlands.
Wow. What was that like as a change for you?
Oh, it's fantastic. We were in Croydon in South London, and it is everything you've ever heard about it. Frequently on fire.
The whole of Croydon.
That's half a joke and half not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just such a change to get into a small village out in the countryside.
That's where you are now.
Yeah, it's quiet, it's isolated, and it was that move really that got me to the time and the space to actually make my album. I tried doing it in Croydon, and I just couldn't do it.
Too busy. There's too much going on there.
Yeah, I was trying to hold down a 9-to-5 job, and it was just all a bit too much to do. But getting away from it all and just having the time and the space to just sit down.
What made you do it then? Why that? I mean, obviously it was just before we went in. The world ended. So what was that moment that you and Si thought, let's just change everything?
It was a mixture of things. We decided we needed a bungalow because we were living in an old Victorian two down very steep stairs. Both of us were having trouble with the stairs, and it was becoming dangerous basically. Okay. So we needed a bungalow, and that meant leaving the south because they're horrifically expensive. So it was moving up, just finding how far north we could go to get somewhere. And the West Midlands was just the place, good transport links, nice area. And 2018 I quit my job, and having the job was, I think, one of the reasons I didn't get the album going. The idea for it was 2012, that's when I decided to do it. So there was this gap of 7 years before I started. But yeah, holding down a job and all the rest of it, and I quit the job and we moved. And that was the end of October 2018. We settled in for a few months, and just the time seemed right, and off I went. And
nice.
Nearly 3 years later.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 3 years, but like I said, the world did end. But I remember, you know, speaking to Simon and yourself about the move and everything, and it's a big thing leaving the south, though, isn't it? Yeah. You're West Midlands, aren't you?
I'm in the Midlands.
Yeah. I mean, we've occasionally gone back down there, And the first thing that we say is, why didn't we do this 10 years earlier?
Yes.
I hate driving around in London. I absolutely hate it.
I think I went back down because I lived there for quite a while, and then moved to Manchester. But I went back down a little while ago, and I was on the tube, and for the first time, I felt like I was going to have a real panic attack. It was that compact, and there was that many people, and I think life had changed so much. And I you know, when you just feel like that, and you're like, I really don't like this, and it never bothered me before.
No, you get used to it. You, it's just the way it is. But it's like a lot of things. When you step out of it and look back at it, you see it as it probably really is. You know, it's that perspective.
See, I love London. I'm in London a couple of times a month, and I love it.
I think there's a time to be in London.
Yeah, I agree.
And then maybe there comes a time when it's not where you need to be anymore. And I think that's what happened with us. We just really didn't need to be there for any particular reason. And as I said, the house that we had, we needed a bungalow. We needed to get away from stairs. Wow. That was really the driving thing.
So growing up, you obviously said you was in just outside of Bridlington.
Yeah.
So was music always part of your life and your family's life? You know, what was growing up somewhere near Bridlington like for a young guy?
As a musician, I mean, I started at the age of 7. No one else in the family, as far as I know, was particularly musical. There were stories of my great-grandfather being a pianist, and his name was Wilson. His first name was Wilson, which is why I took it on. But he's the only one I knew about who, and I never met him, I never knew him, but he played piano apparently very well. But outside of that, nobody did. But yeah, I can distinctly remember, I think it was January 1966. I was in school, I was sitting in the classroom. My teacher was Mr. Eubank. And somebody walked in and said, "Who wants to play a violin?" I went, "Yes."
Wow.
I just said yes I don't know why. It was just like many things in my life, it was an impulse. Yeah. But that was the start of it, and I was terrible at it, mostly because I didn't practice. And then they switched me over to the viola, which I think it meant I was put to the back of the orchestra, where I could do the least amount of damage, keep me out of the way. And I stayed with viola till I was 14, and then guitar came along at 12. And I was always, from the beginning, I knew I was better on a guitar than anything else. And that was really the main thing for a good 10 years before synthesizers and drum machines arrived in the 80s.
Oh my days! So you went down that route, did you?
Yeah, well,
we're talking Pet Shop Boys.
Not quite, but there's always been a technical side to me, as well as the artistic side. So the idea of the technology and playing around with the technology was interesting. And you get to the middle of the 80s, and I start getting into computers as well, and I became a programmer. That's what I did for a living for the 1990s. Lots of technical stuff. You know, I was installing networks, I was interfacing computers with laboratory equipment. So there was a real technical side, but there was always still the artistic side. So yeah, that's kind of how it progressed through. But by the 90s, I'd gone on to playing blues.
Wow, so played quite a lot then of different.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone all over the place, but that's always been me with music. I've always had this weird range of tastes in things.
Well, I think that's amazing in life, isn't it? Really, you know, that you can adapt and change to anything. Have you been to any of the blues bars? Have you? You know,
I used to play in a few of them. Yeah, I mean they were always interesting places to play. But
it's like walking into a different world, isn't it? How it absorbs you. Yeah. That grit and that feeling.
There's a thing about the blues that I think a lot of people go for, and it's being authentic.
Yes.
You know, if you're really into the blues and you want to play it and it means something to you, you're not just playing style of music because that's what people want. And yeah, that's the way I went, and got very into people like B.B. King.
Okay.
Saw him several times during that period at the Royal Festival Hall. I actually got a guitar pick off him on one occasion.
Did you?
I charged the stage along with... It was always very strange. His gigs were always really odd because the audience was so mixed. Okay. And at the end, there'd be his charge towards the stage, but it was always these little kids. Right. Yeah, these like 9, 10-year-olds, and there's me in the middle. Give me a pick. I don't know. And I eventually got one off him, but yeah, it was the most odd. But yeah,
you still got it?
No, it disappeared. I have no idea where it went.
Shame.
Which is a shame. Yeah.
But so, what other influences have played on your musical taste? What other?
Oh, you know, it's weird. It's very, very weird. As a kid, while I was playing classical music, it was the 60s and there was a lot of stuff going on, but that wasn't aimed at me. That was aimed at teenagers. So I knew it was going on, but I wasn't really taking a lot of notice. I got a lot of comedy music and novelty songs, which I still love comedy music. And the first song I ever fell in love with is called "Does Your Chewing Gum Lose Its Flavour on the Bedpost Overnight" by Lonnie Donegan.
That's a long title.
That's the first song that I went, that I like. I really like that, and that must have been when I was like 8 years old or something.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
I saw him perform with Sue Pollard, "Loving You," Lonnie Donegan and Sue Pollard.
Yeah.
What a random mix that one is.
Yeah, he's extraordinary. He's an excellent musician, but he was really wacky a lot of the time. And that led me into all sorts of things as a kid, like Spike Jonze and the City Slickers, somebody who, if you go back and look at their stuff, it's insane. It's absolutely crazy. But all that childhood, that was full of that. And rock music and pop music didn't really come into my life until I was 12. That's when I started. And of course, glam rock was kicking off there. And then you had all the thing going through the 70s of glam rock, art rock, there was progressive rock, there was all sorts of stuff going on.
Oh, we missed so much, didn't
Oh,
we?
we did.
I know.
And I was exploring back into the 60s and the original rock and rollers of the 50s, like Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis and all that lot.
I love it.
Jerry Lee, him. So I've always had this really wide range of tastes.
So where did you get your inspiration from for this album that you've put together? Where did that inspiration come from?
I decided I was going to go with a sci-fi theme, if you like. It wasn't a concept, but there's just this theme of sci-fi with a hint of steampunk and maybe other sort of fantasy elements around it. And I think that helped with the songwriting because it made me focus in on a style and ideas. And once I focused in on it, the ideas seemed to come fairly easily. It's like, I think a lot of creative people, you have a radar, you have this thing in your head that's constantly on the lookout for an idea.
Yeah.
And I think by focusing on a particular subject, a particular sort of general concept of what I was trying to do, that made that easier. And things started to happen. One of the weirdest ones, the weirdest one, was Simon, my husband. Now, Reese, you've worked with him. You may have noticed that he has this habit of thinking aloud.
Yeah, sharing a dressing room with him for 10 weeks. Absolutely.
Yeah, he thinks aloud, usually in the form of questions.
Yeah.
Completely random questions.
You've been married forever,
yeah,
haven't you? So, yeah, you have it every
completely
day.
random questions at completely random points in time. It's very odd. Well, this was kind of an extension of that. One morning, we'd got out of bed. I was strolling through the house with a mug of tea. He was sat on the edge of the bed. He still hadn't got out. I went past the bedroom door and suddenly he starts asking questions. One after another after another. This went on for about a minute. And I said, isn't it a bit early to be playing a game of 20 questions? And he stopped. And he says he has no memory of this at all. He doesn't remember it. I think he was like half asleep.
Oh.
But it was a weird thing that sometimes happens, is that it's like my brain and me separate.
Okay.
And my brain starts telling me what to do, and I do it. And that's kind of how this happened. My brain said, 20 questions, that's a song. So I went, okay. And my brain said, write down the first 20 questions that come into your head. So I did. And then brain said, make a photocopy of this, get a pair of scissors, cut it into strips, one question on each strip, put it in a bowl, mix it up and pull them out at random. That's your lyric.
Stop it.
Wow.
Seriously?
Yeah. And that's the lyric. That's what you hear. None of it rhymes. None of it scans.
Okay.
I had to deal with that vocally, and it was just this kind of separation, and I was just floating along, and this song was coming out, and Brian said, that's a bit philosophical, it's a bit late Beatles, George Harrison. You need tablas. So into the synthesizer percussion section, find some tablas, and that's just it. It was just these things just popping in.
Wow.
And me just following the flow.
That's amazing.
Like a proper flow chart. It's what you did the other day when
Yeah.
you fell over. Rollerbooting. She just fell over.
I'm still in agony from that.
Are you alright?
No, not really.
Seriously. Rollerblading this one.
Nothing like that.
So rock and roll. She thinks she's broke her foot.
I think I am.
I ain't getting down and kissing that one better. Right, we're going to have a listen to some of your music
Okay.
now. Okay. This is the first time you've heard this, isn't it?
It is.
Here we go. I love this song. Mistress of the Third Age.
Yeah.
Here we go. And then we'll have a talk about how you created this one.
Oh, what if I...
It's you.
It's me. It's all me.
Wow.
I do like a groove.
Sounds good.
I've just got this vision of Simon doing the worm.
Oh yeah.
So you write,
Yeah.
play,
Produce,
produce.
engineer,
Oh my gosh.
mix, master, the lot. Which is why it took so long to do the whole thing.
How long did it take?
To the first release, 2 years, 9 months.
Wow.
But I on the bottom line is, I didn't know what I was doing. Not really. There were aspects of it where I had some knowledge, and I thought, yeah, I can do that. I'm going to have to work hard, and I'm going to have to work at a standard I'd never worked at before.
Yeah.
And that was really the first part, the writing, the recording of it, and all those sorts of bits and pieces, getting everything down. But the mixing side, I was utterly clueless.
Really?
I really had to start from the scratch
And learn it all.
and just learn.
Wow.
And
You see, I listen to that, and for me, it gives me like the Happy Mondays
Yes.
vibe,
Yeah.
hacienda. You can just imagine you there, fluorescent paint on your face. Yes.
You know what the weird thing about that is, and this happens all the time. People say it sounds like this, it
Yeah.
sounds like that. Usually, bands I was never into.
Yeah. I mean, when you sent that over, I mean, you've not heard that, have you?
No.
I purposefully didn't play it to Monique because I wanted to see her reaction in the studio. But the moment I heard it, I was like, it's Happy Mondays.
Yes.
It's got a little bit of a Mark Bolan feel to it, a little bit of T-Rex in there.
Probably.
You know, Michael Hutchinson. It's just all this,
Yeah.
this fusion.
I'm a real sponge. I soak stuff up.
But isn't that amazing? That's why you're a creative and you're on
Yes.
our couch.
Yeah, it's peculiar. I'm more interested in terms of styles of music. I'm more interested in songs. It's a song that will capture me, rather than a style.
Okay.
So I'm quite happy listening to things like Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yes.
There are Gilbert and Sullivan songs I absolutely adore. Some of Stephen Sondheim's stuff. At the other end, you've got people like Frank Zappa,
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin, and comedy songs. People like Tim Minchin and the late great Jake Thackeray, who not many people remember these days. So there's this weird mix.
Well, I think that's quite nice. I mean, have you got like an open genre? Because I can, I've got a vinyl player at home, and I can have Edith Piaf on one day, and then next day, I can have like Dusty Springfield belting out, Steps, when I'm doing the hoovering and everything. But that eclectic feel of music, I think, is something special.
Yeah, I think it depends on your mood as well.
Yeah.
I find with myself, depending on what mood I'm in, I'll listen to classical, bit of rock, bit of R&B. Yeah, it just depends.
Have you listened to like the new Scala radio?
No.
Have you?
No.
It's absolutely incredible. Classical music for the modern working life.
Right.
If you just go onto that, it is sensational because it'll take you right the way back through the 1920s, 1930s. Music like with like the Art Deco Charleston feel to it will bring you right up to a modern day. It's absolutely sensational, but that's why I think it's nice with musicians such as yourself to be eclectic, that you can absorb it all and create stuff like we've just played.
It's a weird kind of thing with me because learning to play guitar, I was learning from listening to records. That's how I was doing it. So I think what happened to me there was I became analytical about what's going on, and the way I listen to music, generally, if you find me listening to music, I'm trying to learn something, I'm trying to get something from it.
Okay.
That's really how it works for me. If I'm listening for pleasure, it will usually be something comedic.
Right.
But for everything else, how is that done?
Yeah.
And having made the album and listened to music in the way that I have over the last 3 or 4 years, it's even more. I'm not only am I listening to, how was that done? How was that done? It was how does that sound?
Yeah.
What's the frequency response going on? It just expands out.
So do you think a lot of the way you work then, a lot of it's self-taught? by the sounds of
Absolutely,
it. That's
yeah.
amazing.
But I've always that's kind of when I was working for the computer company doing all the computer stuff. There was very little training. It was like you figured it out.
Yep.
You were given a job to do, and you figured it out.
It's on the hoof, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and you solved problems. And problem solving is really what the whole thing was. And the way I deal with problems, I don't get emotionally involved with a problem. There's no sense of panic, what am I going to do? I'm very cold about it. It's like, okay, there's a problem. What is the problem? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And that's running into all the things I had to do with the album. That was it. And the view was it was just work at it, and in time you'll get it.
So where do you see the album going? What do you want from this? You've written all this amazing music. It's all recorded.
Yeah.
It's available. The album is very, very good. You know, we hear a lot. So we get so much stuff sent to us.
Thank you.
You know, but I like that genre. Like I said, the Happy Mondays kind of feel to it. So what next? Where's it going?
Well, it's out on various sites. I'm going to get it up onto some streaming sites as well. Not the whole album, but some of the tracks off of it. But the original idea, the reason I did it in the first place, wasn't actually to sell it at all. I was having conversations with people back in that sort of 2012 period about music, and I realised that at that point I'd been a musician for 45, 46 years, but I had nothing for people to listen to. There'd been a few trips into studios over the years for demos, but I'd lost those. I'd got nothing, and I'd not really made a footprint. There was nothing to say that as a musician I'd existed.
Wow. Well, there is now.
And that was the point. Make the album. What I was going to do with it, up until quite a way into the process, there was no real idea of putting it out for sale or up for other people. I did it for me.
Yeah.
And I made the music I wanted to make for me. And that was the whole thing. And that's one reason I did everything. That I wasn't going to have anybody else involved.
I think that's why you'll be successful with this, because you've done it for yourself.
Yeah, and I think as a creative person, you always have to.
Yeah.
There was a quote David Bowie said in an interview, and it really stuck with me, and it's kind of the bottom line. He said, never play to the gallery, and always be outside your comfort zone when you're creating, and that's when you'll do your best work. And weirdly enough, Sondheim said something similar as well. And it was good enough for those two.
Legends.
It's good enough for me. But the only other person that appears on the album is Simon.
Oh, really?
Ah, what's he doing?
Yeah, there's a voice at the beginning. There's a track called Messages from Another World.
Yeah.
That's weird, because it started out as a heavy metal synth track, and then it mutated into a 1960s TV theme.
Oh, wow.
Love that.
It's a tribute to a guy called Barry Gray,
who
wrote the music for Jerry and Sylvia Anderson's shows in the 60s, the Sci Fi kids shows that they did, which is the first sci-fi I ever got into. That was where it started for me. At the age of 4, I was watching Sci-Fi. Fireball XL5 was the first show that I saw of theirs.
Really?
I think it was October '62. I looked it up that they released that. But that was my lead into Sci-Fi, and the music from those shows, especially the theme to a show called Joe 90, it's a great track. It was big in the Northern Soul in 1970. It became a hit in Northern Soul clubs.
Love a bit of Northern Soul.
Oh, have a listen to the theme from Joe 90. It's a good dance track.
Write that down afterwards, because I will forget.
Yeah, it's a great little. It's got a great little groove to it, and it became a hit in the Northern Soul clubs. But yeah, Messages from Another World is just a tribute to Barry Gray. It didn't start that way, but it just kind of mutated into something. But they do sometimes. Sometimes they go the way you think. Sometimes they'll go off on their own track to be whatever they want to be. The songs. It's all about the songs, and you follow the song. You do what you need to do for the song.
Yeah, I was going to say, that is the beauty of music, isn't it? You can literally go wherever you want to go.
Sometimes you just don't know. It's a kind of. It's being an explorer. You know, some people will, stick on a backpack and a big pair of boots and wander off into.
Talking about exploring, world tour.
No.
We're going to have to save that one for another day. You're welcome back here anytime. It's been an absolute pleasure. And
thank you.
I will be buying tickets for when the world tour happens.
The world tour, okay.
Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Creative on the Couch, and thank you, Tony.
It's been a pleasure.
I'll see you next week, darling.
Of course you
All right. Take care of yourselves.
Bye.
See you next week.